So we're back for another deep dive.
Excited to dig into this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, I think.
Yeah.
Today we're looking into the death of Indian actress Pratyusha.
Yeah.
And I watched the Sadiq Files video on YouTube to kind of get prepped for this.
Okay.
And I got to say, I don't know where this is going to go.
A lot of twists and turns.
Yeah, a lot of twists and turns, a lot of different narratives.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping that you can help me parse some of this out.
Oh, sure.
So, yeah, let's just get right into it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Pratyusha, she starts out, pretty normal, right?
Yeah, middle-class family in Jamshedpur.
Yeah, like a lot of these,
Yeah.
Bollywood, Tollywood stories start, very humble beginnings.
Exactly. Kind of a classic, that kind of rags to riches story.
Right.
But in this case, that kind of meteoric rise is cut short.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how she even got into the industry.
Yeah, so she wasn't like a great student or anything.
Yeah. No, struggled academically.
Right.
But from a young age, you could tell that she had that artistic talent. And it's like, how often does that happen, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like raw talent gets overlooked because of other, circumstances.
Like the education system's not really built to identify those things.
Exactly.
But so how does she actually break into the industry?
So it seems like televised talent competitions are huge in India.
Yeah, they are.
And for aspiring actors, it's almost like a rite of passage. It's their chance to kind of get out there, get some exposure.
It's discovered.
Yeah.
But also, I imagine there's a ton of pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
And scrutiny.
You're putting yourself out there in front of,
Yeah, in front of everyone.
millions of people.
Yeah.
So she didn't actually win this competition.
Oh, really?
She got third place.
Third place isn't bad.
Not bad at all.
Especially when you think about how many people probably auditioned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting, too. They mentioned some other contestants in that same competition.
Yeah, there were some other people.
Like Uday Banu.
Yeah, who ended up becoming a pretty famous anchor, I think.
Yeah, famous anchor and actress Laya was also in that competition.
Wow. So it was like a
real hotbed of future stars.
Wow.
So, it makes you wonder what happens after those lights fade a little bit.
Right, because, you had that initial recognition.
Right.
But then how do you actually build a career out of that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you translate that into like a sustainable career?
And, some people obviously are able to do that.
Yeah.
And some people just kind of
fade away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about Pratyusha? What happens next?
So it seems like she had someone in her corner, this guy Raghavendra Rao,
Okay.
who really guided her early steps in her career.
Okay, that's important, right?
Yeah, mentorship.
Like having the right people who
Absolutely. Someone who believes in your talent and
is willing to open doors for you.
Especially in an industry like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he connected her with this renowned dance master.
Okay.
To kind of help her hone her skills, get her some exposure. And then she landed her first leading role in this film called Sriram.
Sriram. Okay.
Which unfortunately wasn't a box office success.
Oh.
But it's like, that's a crucial lesson right there.
Yeah.
Setbacks are inevitable. It's how you learn from them and keep moving forward that defines you.
And so she does keep moving forward.
She does.
And where does she go?
She transitions to the Tamil film industry.
Oh, okay.
And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Oh, okay.
She starts taking on these diverse roles.
Yeah.
Showcasing her versatility.
Okay.
So, she's in films like Manmathudu.
And Manhudu. Okay.
And Panchathantiram.
Panchathantiram. I'm going to butcher all these names. I apologize.
No, you're doing great.
Okay.
But, so her career's taking off. But at the same time, there's always a but.
There's always a but. Her personal life takes a bit of a complicated turn.
Okay, this is where Siddharth Reddy comes in.
Exactly.
Right.
This is where he enters the picture.
Fellow actor.
Yep. Romantically involved with Pratyusha.
And their relationship, initially at least, was
passionate.
Yeah.
Loving. But it eventually becomes this central element in the mystery surrounding her death.
And I think that's where we're going to have to pick this up next time.
Yeah, because things get really complicated.
Yeah.
And we're going to start to see those two threads, her career and her personal life, really start to intertwine.
In a bad way.
Yeah, in a way that raises a lot of questions.
Yeah. All right. So tune in for part 2 of this deep dive.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
Where we get into this very messy relationship and what may or may not have happened.
Exactly.
All right. See you next time.
See ya.
All right. So we're back and ready to get into this whole Siddharth Reddy situation.
Yeah, things get pretty intense from here on out.
So last time we were talking about Pratyusha's rise to fame.
Right, her move to the Tamil film industry.
Yeah, and then she meets this guy, Siddharth.
And it starts out, like a typical kind of whirlwind romance.
Yeah, passionate, exciting.
But then you start to see those little red flags popping up.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, the video hints that Siddharth was quite possessive.
Possessive, huh?
Yeah, there's this underlying sense that he wanted to control her life.
Control her career.
Yeah, even her social interaction.
Like who she could talk to, who she could hang out with.
Exactly. It's that classic kind of controlling behavior.
So did Pratyusha just put up with that?
From what I gathered, it seems like she tried to push back.
Good for her.
Yeah, she wasn't going to let him dictate her life.
It must have been a constant struggle, though.
Oh, absolutely. You can imagine the tension.
And probably a lot of arguments.
Yeah. The video mentions this trip she took to Bangalore for a film shoot. And apparently Siddharth wasn't happy about it at all.
Tried to stop her from going.
Pretty much, but she was determined to go.
She was focused on her career.
Exactly. And it seems like that decision really escalated things between them.
They had a big fight when she got back.
Yeah, a huge argument.
And this was like right before she died, right?
It's just a few days before.
Okay, so now we're getting to the really murky part of the story.
Yeah, this is where the whole suicide versus murder debate really kicks in.
So Siddharth, he claims that it was suicide.
That's his story, that she took poison in a moment of despair.
During an argument.
That's what he said.
But then you have Pratyusha's mother, who's obviously devastated.
Of course.
And she's saying, absolutely not, this was no suicide.
Yeah, she's accusing Siddharth of abuse.
Like physical abuse.
Yeah, she's basically saying he was responsible for her daughter's death.
Wow, so it's like a complete he said, she said situation?
Exactly. And the lack of clear evidence just makes it more confusing.
But didn't they do an autopsy?
They did, and that's where things get even weirder.
Okay, tell me more about this autopsy.
So the initial report, the one done by this well-respected doctor, it apparently showed signs of physical assault on Pratyusha's body.
Like bruises or something?
Yeah, evidence that could support the mother's claims of abuse.
Wow, that's huge.
But then, get this, the report was later altered.
Altered? How is that even possible?
Well, according to the video, there was a lot of pressure to protect Siddharth.
Pressure from who?
The video suggests political influence was involved.
Oh, wow. So they're saying someone higher up was trying to cover this whole thing up.
That's the implication.
So they changed the report to make it look like there was no foul play.
Yeah, to get Siddharth off the hook.
And the doctor who did the original autopsy, what happened to him?
He died in a car accident a few years later.
A car accident.
Yeah, and the video highlights the suspicious timing of his death.
Like he knew too much.
It's hard not to think that...
Okay, so we've got political pressure, a potentially altered autopsy report, and a doctor who dies under mysterious circumstances.
Yeah, it's all very suspicious.
But what about Pratyusha's mother? Did she just give up?
No, she's been fighting for justice ever since.
It's got to be tough going up against all that.
Incredibly tough. But she hasn't given up.
Wow, I admire her strength.
Me too.
So we're left with all these unanswered questions.
And a system that seems to be failing to deliver justice?
It's a really frustrating situation.
It is, but it's also a reminder that we need to be critical thinkers.
We can't just accept what we're told.
We have to question everything, especially when things don't add up.
So what about the day Pratyusha died? What exactly happened?
The events of that day, February 23rd, 2002, are just as confusing as everything else in this case.
Okay, I think we need to take a closer look at that.
Yeah, let's dive into the specifics of that day and see what we can piece together.
All right, so we're back, and it's time to focus on that fateful day, February 23rd, 2002.
This is where the timeline gets really murky. Even like the simplest things are kind of shrouded in mystery.
Like what do you mean?
Well, the video starts by talking about Pratyusha going to a beauty parlor that day.
Okay, seems normal enough.
Yeah, but even that becomes part of the conflicting narratives.
How so?
Because there are different accounts of who was with her and when.
Right, because Siddharth claims he was there initially, but then he left before she was found.
Exactly, and other accounts suggest he was around more than he lets on.
So already we're seeing those inconsistencies again.
It's like everyone's got a slightly different version of events.
And after the parlor, she went to meet with the director of her upcoming film, right?
Right, and the video mentions that Siddharth was calling her constantly during that meeting.
Even though he wasn't there.
Yeah, which kind of adds to that whole controlling behavior vibe.
Like he couldn't stand her being out of his sight.
It's possible, we don't know for sure, but it's definitely suspicious.
And then after that meeting, she went back to her hotel room.
And that's where things take a really dark turn.
Because that's where she was found unconscious.
Right. And this is where Siddharth's version of events and the mother's version clash completely.
Okay, remind me what each of them said happened.
So Siddharth, he says he went to the hotel room and found Pratyusha in distress.
And that she had taken poison?
Yeah, he claims it was an impulsive act driven by despair.
But Pratyusha's mother, she's convinced that Siddharth was already in the room.
And that he played a more active role in her death.
Wow, so basically one is saying it was suicide, the other saying it was something much worse.
Exactly, and there's just not enough evidence to definitively prove either one.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Incredibly frustrating, especially for Pratyusha's family who just want answers.
And then there's the whole issue of how she got to the hospital.
Oh yeah, that's another point of contention.
Siddharth says he rushed her there immediately.
But the video hints at a possible delay.
A delay?
Yeah, like there's a gap in the timeline between when she was found and when she actually got to the hospital.
What was happening during that time?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Man, the more we dig into this, the more suspicious it gets.
It really does make you wonder if there was a deliberate attempt to cover something up.
To protect Siddharth, maybe.
It's hard to say for sure, but the possibility is definitely there.
So what are we supposed to make of all of this?
Honestly, I don't know if there's a clear answer.
Yeah, it feels like we've just uncovered more questions than we've answered.
But I think that's part of what makes this case so compelling.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
About the nature of truth, about power and influence, about how easily things can be manipulated.
And about the importance of fighting for justice, even when it seems impossible.
Like Pratyusha's mother has been doing all these years.
Yeah, her determination is incredible.
It's a reminder that we can't just give up when things get tough.
We have to keep asking questions, keep pushing for the truth.
Even if it's uncomfortable. Even if it means challenging those in power.
Well said, and I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We've explored a lot of different perspectives, a lot of theories.
But ultimately, it's up to each of us to decide what we believe.
To look at the evidence and come to our own conclusions.
And to remember that even in the face of tragedy and injustice, the pursuit of truth is always worthwhile.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a heavy one.
Yeah, this case will definitely stick with me.
Me too. But I think it's important that we keep these conversations going.
Absolutely. We can't let these stories be forgotten.
So until next time, keep questioning, keep searching, and keep diving deep.